Now, Brittany, you actually work with a lot of corporations. I know you're on the Gucci, on the Game
Yes.
Changers or Changemakers committee. I know you work with Sephora, Procter and Gamble. How do you hold these brands accountable? Because for me, as someone who is a former advertising executive and still currently an entrepreneur, I try to only work with brands that I feel like are going to be responsive to the needs of the folks, and I try to do no harm. That's always my first mantra: do no harm. So I try not to work with brands that are harmful to our folks. But
Yep.
no one really in corporations, I think there's probably no one that has clean hands. So how do you kind of like reconcile that?
That's a great question, and it is always, it feels like a moving target, right? I mean, we are constantly asking a lot of questions. There are, for all the brands that you just named, there is a longer list of folks that I have said no to. But there are certain standards that I hold if I'm going to engage. First of all, I want to make sure that the table is as big enough as possible. So if I'm the only Black person you brought in, then that's actually not good enough for me. My job is
Right.
to kick open the door when I've been invited in and bring 10, 20, 50 people along with me to continue to not only diversify your base of advisors, but make sure that people of color are getting access to the opportunities and the compensation that they deserve, right? So we're supposed to be
Right.
expanding opportunities for every door we walk in. I know that that's something you do all the time. The second thing I really require is that there is really room for change. I ask a lot of questions before I say yes to anything, to the point where some folks will call me and be like, do you really want to do this? And I'm like, yeah, but you have to answer these real questions first. And if you are
Yeah.
not willing to actually change and there's not real power here with this seat, then I'm not interested, right? I'm not interested in something cosmetic. I'm interested in really holding and maintaining power because our people are powerful, and it's high time people recognize that. The third thing the third thing I always ask is, where are the resources going? So who's on your board, and are you going to change that if there's not enough Black folks? Are you invested in Black banks? And if you're not, then what is your timeline to change that? And how are you actually leveraging the money that, frankly, Black people either give you through their pay or give you because we make things cool? How are you paying that back into our community? So what are the donations we're going to make to this partnership? What are the scholarship funds? What are the funds that we know are going to be protected no matter what happens with the coronavirus? The funds that are going to be protected to go back to our people. And at base, those are just the beginning set of questions, right? And that work isn't for everybody. There are going to be folks who push from the outside, folks who push from the inside, folks who do both, kind of like I do. And all of those things are necessary to really pressure folks with power to make sure that they are contributing in ways that don't just extract from our community. And I think it has been really powerful, for example, to see Gucci maintain the funds that they had promised for scholarships, for design fellowships and apprenticeships, and also for donations to organizations that are led by people of color, despite what has been happening in the country around the economy, right? They said that this matters more, and making sure that those kinds of funds are protected and continue to be given out in our community makes such a difference. So it is just one piece of the puzzle, right? That is not the end. That is the means. That is how we continue to make sure that the power in our communities is felt and seen across the world.